How's it going, everyone? Rosalind here. Today I'm going to be giving you my top tips for the HD remaster of Shin Megami Tensei III Nocturne based on the over 90 hours that I've played of the game to obtain the true demon ending. For those of you that are new to the channel, I do speak Japanese and often pick up Japanese games before their Western release. I actually stream and translate these over on my Twitch channel whenever I do. But because of this, I had the opportunity to play through the HD remaster of Nocturne in its entirety last year, which is why I'm able to provide this information with you today. Now, while this video will be geared towards players who are new to Nocturne, and really SMT in general, I do encourage veterans to stick around because, well, it helps support the channel. And as always, if you have any questions about this video, Nocturne, or any other game that I cover, feel free to hit me up over on Twitch at twitch.tv/RosalindGaming, or over on my Discord server, both of which are linked in the video description. So to start things off, I just want to talk about buffs and debuffs, which are incredibly important. And unless you are playing on the new merciful difficulty, which makes the game a complete other joke by removing literally every ounce of challenge that there ever was, I would say that buffs and debuffs are pretty close to mandatory. There is actually a pretty notorious early boss fight that without a specific buff becomes close to impossible. For those that don't know, buffs and debuffs in Nocturne have a few properties that make them distinct from other games such as those found in the Persona series. For starters, outside of a few select demon-specific ones, all buffs and debuffs are AoE, meaning that they affect multiple targets. For example, Tsukukaja, which affects a single target in the Persona series, functions identically to its party-wide counterpart Masukukaja in Nocturne. Additionally, buffs and debuffs can stack up to 4 times, so it is in your benefit to cast them multiple times at the start of battle in order to get the maximum effect. Finally, buffs and debuffs last until the end of battle or until they are removed with something such as Dekunda or Dekaja. And this is a good segue into talking about some of the abilities that I recommend. Now obviously there are going to be plenty more great abilities in the game, but these are just a handful of the more useful ones that are always good to have access to. For starters, we have Estoma, Lightoma, Liftoma, and Treffery, which are all great for general exploration. Estoma lowers the encounter rate until the next moon cycle, Lightoma illuminates dark areas that would otherwise be pitch black, and Liftoma allows you to walk over surfaces that would otherwise deal environmental damage to your party. Then there's Treffery, which lets you escape from normal battles with a 100% success rate. This one is especially useful if you plan to play on hard mode. Luckily, there is a demon you can purchase from the first Kalpa's Shady Broker in the Labyrinth of Amala for 15k Maka that has all of these abilities on him. Next, there is Mana Refill, which will restore MP to the demon that has this ability as you walk around outside of battle, so long as they are in your active party. This one is just a nice one to have access to for those long dungeon runs, and it combines well with my next suggestion, Makatora, which lets the user give 10 of their own MP to another ally. And best of all, it can be used outside of battle. Give these abilities to a Dai Sojo and you will effectively have no MP issues ever again. Speaking of which, incoming Dai Sojo build, so be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss it. He's easily one of the best demons in the entire game. Finally, I highly recommend always having access to Tsukukaja and Fog Breath. Fog Breath is nice as it applies 2 applications of Sukunda to all enemies, which will lower their accuracy and evasion, whereas Tsukukaja increases your party's accuracy and evasion. Having a full 4 stack of both of these is integral to dealing with many of the game's toughest encounters. Luckily, it's easy enough to get access to Tsukukaja early on by fusing Bicorn, who comes with it naturally, and you can actually get this in time for that notorious boss fight. I've displayed a few of the possible fusion combinations that will produce Bicorn on screen. Moving on, I want to talk about character growth as it's a very important aspect of success in Nocturne and quite different from what players coming over from the Persona series are probably going to be used to. First of all, every time that you level up, you will be given a skill point to allocate to one of your character's 5 stats, meaning that you have complete control over how the main character will develop. There are also instance items which can increase certain stats and Magatama as well, but in general your character's growth is shaped as you level up based on how you allocate your stat points. The most important thing to remember when doing this is that it is permanent. There is no way to reset allocated stats. Another aspect of character growth is your Magatama. These are special items that you set to your main character and they are acquired through various means as you progress through the game. Depending on the Magatama you currently have set, the main character's stats will temporarily be altered and his weaknesses and resistances will also change as well. But most importantly, it's the Magatama that dictates what skills the main character can learn. Each Magatama has a set of skills that can be learned so long as the main character has that Magatama set when he levels up and is of the appropriate level. Because of this, it's a good idea to be switching your currently set Magatama up frequently based on what you are doing in the game or what skills you want to be learning. Just keep in mind that while you can switch your Magatama at any time outside of battle, you cannot switch it in battle. Also, much like with stat points, skills that are learned from the Magatama are permanent, in that if you say learn Fog Breath from the Wadatsumi Magatama, and then later decide to get rid of it in order to learn another skill, you will not be able to relearn Fog Breath. Due to this nature of permanence that comes along with allocating stat points and learning new skills, it is highly advisable that you plan well in advance how you want your main character to develop so as not to do something that can't be undone. If there is demand for it, I can definitely put together a main character build guide, but for now, a few recommendations to get you started. First, you'll want to stick with a physical damage based build, especially if this is your first time playing Nocturne. Early on, it's certainly okay to pick up some magic abilities, but you will definitely want to lean towards physical as you level up and gain access to more Magatama and skills. That's not to say that you can't do a magic build, but there are many factors which hinder its performance in Nocturne, and you are generally better off leaving magic to your demons. As I said, this is especially true for newer players, as well as those who wish to go for the true demon ending. Now with that foundation laid, I recommend prioritizing agility, especially early on, for your skill point allocation, as it is by far the most important stat in the game, with strength coming in at a close second for a physical based build. The other stats aren't dead stats either, even for a physical build, they do all have their uses. You just want to make sure that you're prioritizing agility followed by strength, and you should be good. Finally, I'd like to mention a few tips, or really just things to keep in mind, with regards to recruiting demons and fusions, as well as some other miscellaneous things. While in battle, you'll have the ability to converse with demons you are fighting in an effort to try and get them to join you. When you do this, they will ask you questions, they will ask for some items from you, and they may even demand some money from you. The most important thing to remember though is that this is entirely random. Whenever a demon asks you a question, it doesn't matter what you answer. The only thing that can improve your chances of successfully recruiting a demon are skills that some demons can learn, such as Seduce and Scout. As such, it is generally easier to leave recruiting demons to the early game and then get everything else that you want via fusions later as the game progresses. And speaking of fusions, be sure to keep an eye on the moon cycle when fusing new demons, or really just in general, as the moon cycle plays an important role in many aspects of the game. For example, some demons can only be fused at certain points during the moon cycle. Additionally, the ability to do sacrificial fusions does require a full moon. Other things that happen to be affected by the moon cycle include the probability of obtaining rare items from chests, potential damage increases in battle, the ability to solve some puzzles, and much more. It's just a good idea to keep an eye on it and make sure that you're comparing what's happening in the game world with regards to whatever the moon cycle is. And that'll do it for my top tips for Shin Megami Tensei III Nocturne HD Remaster. As always, if you found this video helpful and informative, please be sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And of course, if you have any questions about this video, Nocturne, or any other game that I cover, do be sure to hit me up over on Twitch at twitch.tv/RoslinGaming, or in my Discord server. Again, both of those are linked in the video description. Until next time, take care.